Welcome to Satsang. This evening we're going to continue where we left off in the last Satsang, the 3 laws. And the reason is because I had quite a few requests wanting me to elaborate more on how to transfer, or rather transform, fear into love and how it's done. So I'm going to go into more detail about that process. Now, in order to experience this rather than information, because what you're going to be here is filled of information. You know, I was a hypnotherapist for 35 years and I've learned a lot about the subconscious and how the emotions work. So I'd like to go into that, but I'd like you to feel it more in your heart. So make an intent as you listen, to listen with your heart. Feel that you're totally open, and anything you don't understand, you know, here you can ask it, or you just let it pass by and try to feel it, because once you're open to a message, something in you, as in your intuitive heart, will come to say, yeah, this is the way it is. So what I'd like to start out with is, what is love? Well, of course, you can describe love. Love is everything. But where it comes to transforming fear into love, we have to discuss. One of the things is that when we discuss love, people think, oh, love is everything. Fine. But even though we think of it as everything, we still do not realize that everything means also you. So, in other words, you are that very love. You cannot be anything else. It's been said that love makes the world go round. Literally. The earth rotates around the sun, yes. And what makes it do so, it is the very infinite intelligence we call love. What makes a fetus in a mother's womb and turns into a living, breathing human being, it is love. So when we talk about love, we're not talking about just one-on-one relationship, we're not talking just sex. We're talking wholeness, completeness, okay? It is everything. Now, the reason I'm emphasizing this is because unless we fully grasp that your true nature is love, we cannot understand how to transform fear into it. So now let's go into fear. What is fear? You know, I studied psychology, but it was only through doing hypnotherapy and experiences that I've had that I've learned something very, very simple. The reason we suffer emotionally is because we seek the very love we are. So fear, in short, is frustration of love. That's all it is. See, we think of fear as being afraid of something. But actually, fear is mostly psychological. And it's always a future. You know, what if that happens? Okay? So, okay. Now, in order to understand fear also, it's important to understand the subconscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind is a storehouse of memory. So we can say that the body, being consciousness in appearance, is actually a storehouse of this memory. So the subconscious is a storehouse of memory. Everything that you've ever experienced, billions and billions of experiences, is stored in the subconscious mind. The subconscious does not know the difference between right and wrong. It does not know the difference between the real and unreal. But here is one thing that is very outstanding and very few people are aware of. The subconscious mind is your protector. It wants to protect you. And it is this very protection which causes all self-sabotage, which causes all suffering, which causes all the maladies of humanity. Why? Okay, let's understand why. If you were as a child born without a parent, either father or mother, one of them died or separated or divorced. If you lost a sibling, if you lost your best friend when you were still quite young. What happens as you grow older? The moment you start having a relationship, you become afraid of intimacy, because the subconscious mind will say to you, be careful, you're going to get hurt again, you're going to lose that love again, so I'm going to protect you not to do that mistake again of loss. And remember that the subconscious knows nothing what is real or unreal. It simply believes everything that the mind tells it. Okay. Now let's take another example so that we can begin to feel how the subconscious works to create self-sabotage. Let's say you made a lot of mistakes as a child. You know, maybe your parents said, oh, come on, you're always so, you know, you're stupid, or you don't things right, or blah, blah, blah. Okay. So what happens is that you develop very low self-esteem, maybe an inferiority complex, because the subconscious keeps telling you, be careful, people are going to see you making more mistakes. So we better protect you from making mistakes, which of course is impossible, because making mistakes is part of living. Or let's say you're brought up religious, where they believed, where they taught that there's a sin, and you know, you're born in sin, and there is hell or Satan or whatever. If you're brought up that way, well then you suffer guilt for most of your life, and guilt is a killer. Let's say you were also brought up where we've heard the old term, parents say, children should be seen, not heard. You've heard the term, of course. And what happens is that you're afraid to speak, you're afraid to express yourself, and so by being suppressed, which suppression leads by imperceptible degrees without realizing it into unconscious repression. And repression means you develop a very repressed personality. One of the things that I have found, for example, with people becoming very sick and they are repressed, they suffer constipation. And so a lot of toxicity builds into the body because you don't have, you don't go to the bathroom very often. This is part of the repressed feeling. You keep things inside, in other words, okay? So we can see here how the subconscious, in its protection of ourselves, creates self-sabotage of the very things we want most. So this also makes us seek love in many, many different ways. But in order to make it simple tonight, and because I promised that I would make it simple and brief, there are 3 ways in which we seek love. These ways are the qualities of our true being. Love is perfection, really. Love is always the happiness, the peace, the joy, the silence, the beauty that you are. This is your true nature. But also, what happens is that we want these qualities because we don't know we are that very love itself. And because we don't know we are that very love itself, we seek love in 3 ways. We seek love through approval, we seek love through safety, and we seek love through control. For example, approval. Now, we always want to be approved of. And this is natural, so there's nothing wrong with this. You know, the moment a boy or a girl become mature, like, you know, the girl starts putting makeup on and, you know, and likes to look good to attract the men. Men try to look good also. So, in other words, we're always seeking approval. Okay, we want to be a success, we want to be proficient, we want to be good at what we do. This is because we're actually wanting approval from others. Okay? But seeking approval also keeps you away from being the love that you already are, because you feel that you need to work at it rather than being. So our true nature is being, but we forget about being, so we try so hard and we wonder why we are stressed all the time. We suffer stress continuously. Another thing also that we do, apart from approval, is safety. We seek safety. We seek safety, which is another form of security, and we do that through marriage, for example. Now, there's nothing wrong with marriage, of course not, but We seek it by belonging to a club, and there's nothing wrong with that either. But you have to see, because once you start seeing, you don't stop doing things, but that very seeing will save you. Because the moment you begin to realize you are loved, you don't change anything in your life. The change will come from your own seeing, from your own inner wisdom, from your own awakening of seeing what is. So in other words, when we try to seek security, we find that sometimes we marry the wrong person, or we go out and become attracted because someone has more money, it gives us more security. So in other words, we end up doing the wrong, quote, the wrong thing. Okay. And then there is control. Control, now this is very common. People who have not known love, people have not known tenderness, people have not known total understanding in their youth, they start to seek it through power. And we discussed that at length in the last satsang. Okay? So this need for power is very, very powerful. Okay? We seek power through lots of money. We seek power through never having enough, greed, for example. You see, or trying to have control over others. Manipulation is part of the need for power. And if we grow up in our later years without having experienced love, then we become angry people, unhappy, you know, very complaining most of the time, finding things wrong, always negative. Make up assumptions like men are no good, and women says women are complicated, and blah blah blah. In other words, this is all the control in order for us to be in control, because we've never had love. So control or power is a substitute for love. Okay, so remember these three: approval, safety, and control are the three things that create in us all maladies, emotional suffering. Okay? So, and that is very clear. Is there anything so far, before we go into the transformation or understand what transformation would be like? Are there any questions at this point? We know what love is, understand at least briefly that love is all that there is.
What's the difference between safety and security?
They're both the same.
Okay, the same.
Yeah,
okay.
same.
All
because
right.
when you want security, it's because you want to feel safe.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
all of these are coming from, obviously, the lack of.
The lack, because we don't know we are love.
So you're stepping forward in lack.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and
For
you're
either one
working
of
from a
these.
sense of lack.
Mhm.
You see, every time you are seeking, thank you, that's very good. Very
And
good.
thus
Yeah.
creating.
And it creates
the
more
lack.
lack, you see, because that's what you focus on, right? So as you focus on lack, that very lack becomes a reality, because it goes into the subconscious mind, which is the creator, which is the materializer, which it's powerful, because whatever the subconscious believes, it creates. Whether heaven or hell, it creates. You see, everyone is a product of their subconscious mind, their subconscious content. So we understand that, right?
So do you say the unconscious, subconscious? Or is the subconscious?
Well, the unconscious, it's just look at it this way, okay? Look at the ocean. And as you look at the ocean, you don't see the ocean. All you see is the surface, okay? The surface waves, etc. That's called the conscious mind. But that's only just like an iceberg. You only see the tip of it. But as you look down, you can still see the depth. Okay, it's a little darker. We call it the subconscious, which is immediate, which is guiding us in everyday life, guiding us all the time, but we are not conscious of it.
But it's there
So,
to
but it's
explore.
controlling you, controlling why you do this, why you do that, why you self-sabotage yourself. Here you are having something you really wanted, and all of a sudden you reject it. Wow, what's going on here? You see, why do I do this? My goodness. You know, am I crazy? No, you're not. What is happening is that you are denying the very thing you want, because the part of you is protecting you from getting hurt again. But you have forgotten the hurt, but the subconscious hasn't. Okay, so that's the subconscious. And then there's the unconscious. Now, we are made up of unconscious thoughts that goes back way, which is of course still present. okay, present in our cellular memory, because everything is now anyway, there's no past or future. So in other words, everything is in our unconscious. Unconscious is just like the depth of the ocean. Even Cousteau, who went into the depths of the oceans to discover the nature, he never went that deep as the unconscious is. So there is a whole world. If our unconscious became conscious, will become Jesus, Buddha, Ramana Maharshi, okay? Would be the masters of, because we would see absolutely clearly everything, okay? But the unconscious is something that the more we become aware of our subconscious tendencies, how we are constantly seeking love, by that we begin to realize we are love. As we begin to realize we are love, the subconscious gets less and less and less, which means the fear is dropping. Because the subconscious is all fear, practically, you see? That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. The subconscious is that which is submerged in us, you see? That's why we don't know what we want most of the time, why we do what we do, why we think the way we think, why we dream the way we dream. You see what I mean? It's all subconscious. Did I answer your question? Yeah.
And is this subconscious our own conclusions from one time or another?
Yes, yes. Yeah, everything that we have thought and believed. Everything that you turn into a belief becomes reality. Instant. If it remains a thought and you see it as a thought, okay, this is when you begin to master the mind. You master yourself. But most of the time, you don't see a thought as a thought. You see it as, oh, you begin to believe it. Well, the moment you believe it, it goes into your subconscious. Now, the subconscious does its best to bring it about. If at the moment somebody sneezes, and you begin to believe, oh my God, I caught the germs, now I'm going to have a cold. Well, the next day, the moment you believe it, you start sneezing. Because you created that cold. You see what I mean? So this is the way the subconscious works. We don't even realize it, that we are creating our life moment to moment to moment. In truth, there is only God, which means you are God, right? You are that very love itself. You are it. So, so as we begin to understand the subconscious, we are actually transcending the fear. Okay? So the more we are loved, the less fear there is. Okay? So this is going to bring us into how we transform fear into love. Now, this transformation is very, very beautiful, and I'd like your full attention here, because once you start doing it, and what has happened too is that last satsang, many people have done the little chi movement that I gave them, and my goodness, I had so many letters and reports saying, oh, you healed my migraine, and I sleep better, or I feel better. I hurt my back a while ago, I've had it for a long time, and now it's healed. So it's wonderful, but let's understand what chi is, the chi energy. The yogis call it prana, okay? It's a life force. But to make it simple, it is the love in you, okay? That's what chi is, the love in you. When you are in love, okay, that doesn't mean you're in love with someone. You know, you don't even need a partner. You can be in love with who you are, with the love that you are. Because you are God, really. To be in love with God is the highest form of love, you see? But God is not something. God is. So when we begin to transform, remember that everything human is energy. Energy. Love is energy in the way that when it's in the human level, okay? It's emotional. Fear is energy. Anger is energy. Every feeling, good or bad, is energy, okay? Energy understands only energy. Good and bad is the combination and the judgment of your subconscious mind. But in truth, there is no good or bad. There is only how you judge it. Got it? Okay. And you judge it according to what you have conditioned your subconscious mind to believe it is. You see? For example, what is a master? Somebody who's really mastered themselves, enlightened being, someone like Ramana Maharshi, for example. How is it? He's come to the point where there is no wrong anymore. There's only love. You see? So he lives from that state. So there's never a feeling of lack. There's never a feeling of wrong. There's never a feeling, oh, that person is so bad because he killed so many people. There's only what is, because that's what the people focused on and that's what created. So the world is a creation of the subconscious mind. Sometimes collective country creates its own karma, its own collective energy. Each country has its own karma. Each segment is you know, even the families have their own karma. Everything has its own collective energy. You see, it's all part of the subconscious. If we belong to a club, then that club has its own energy. We become part of that energy as we belong to it. Okay? So all the time we are being subjected to a way of seeing. And that way of seeing is affecting every part of our life. Where were we here? Yeah, so transformation, right. So everything is one energy. Okay, now are beginning to see that in the beginning we talked about love. So how do we transform love into fear? Fear into love. Okay, how transform fear into love? Okay, first of all, see it as energy. Now I get people writing me off and they say, Burt, I am so depressed. Darn it, you know, how long is this going to be? I want to get rid of it, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, the first thing to remember, don't get rid of depression. Don't try to get rid of anger. Don't try to get rid of anything negative. It is energy. Transmute it. Transform it. Use that energy. Because if you say, I shouldn't be this way, you kill a part of you. You are energy. That energy has to be used. You see, and transformed. See, our body functions at its best when it's aligned with love. Okay, in other words, it's not horizontal where time, past and future, but it's vertical. Okay, that's why you feel high. So you feel good, okay, because you move into that vertical energy. That's called love. The moment you have fear, you move past and future. Future is anxiety. Past is guilt. So we live from those two worlds of anxiety and guilt. Guilt produces anxiety, anxiety brings more guilt. Okay? And they compound and we miss the moment, which is all we have, because in truth there is no past and future. How can it be? Where is the past? Where is it? Can any moment you can remember the past, which is history, but the past, when it happened now. You see? So in other words, there's only now. Now, when you begin to understand love and you begin to realize that your nature is love, you begin to live now, fully, and you become alive. You see? So that's what aliveness is. You're being aligned with love. So we're talking here about how to transform fear into love. Now, to make it also simple, let's go back to what we just covered. Fear. Fear is the frustration of love. Fear is not devoid of love. It is wanting love, but thinking you don't deserve it, by thinking you're not good enough, by thinking there is something wrong with you, by seeking it when you are it already. Okay? So in other words, so if you try to get rid of the seeking, which of course takes the form of need for approval, takes the form of wanting security, takes the form of wanting control. If you go into those three, that's when we get sick emotionally, become dysfunctional. Okay, but if we begin to understand that there's nothing wrong with being negative, there's nothing wrong with being angry, but what you need to do is move the chi, the energy of love, inside you. So that the energy that is now fear automatically melts away and becomes love. Because love is 1,000,000 times more powerful than fear. Fear is nothing more than F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real. Okay? So in other words, fear is not real at all. But it appears real because the subconscious mind has given it to us as a reality.
Well, what exactly is fear? Like, what exactly is it? It's not even anything. It's not even what you're afraid of. Like, it's just, it's before.
That's right. That's why the word anxiety is so appropriate. Okay? It's an apprehension of what's going to happen. Okay? Fear. Oh my God. This is going to happen. Why? Why do we have that? Because somehow in our childhood, this has already happened through loss, through not receiving enough love, through whatever, our parental training, our conditioning, our religious upbringing, right and wrong, shoulds and shouldn'ts, and all this goes into play. And so when we begin to feel that we are approaching something where somebody told you don't do that, that's wrong, okay? Something in your subconscious says, oh my God, this is going to happen, you see? So that's called fear. Fear is a remembrance of something that you have believed is wrong or bad for you, is going to bring danger. But you don't know what it is because we're totally ignorant of our true nature as love. So therefore we start believing that and fear becomes true. Now what happens with fear is this, that the fear is in the future, but the emotions that we feel are present in the body. And when the fear is present in the body, depending upon the extent of that fear, will be perspiration, will be heart pounding, will be squeeze, gut wrenching, will be shaking of the knees, will be trembling, depending upon how frustrating or fearful it was in your childhood when you first experienced it. And remember, you might say, but why do we make something so big? Because you see, as a child, we suppressed it. When it became suppressed, it remained real. As we fought it in time, we fought it very, very little. Oh, I shouldn't be thinking like this. Oh, I shouldn't, blah, blah, blah. Suppression, more and more, all the time, suppression, suppression. So by the time we are in our 20s and 30s, we're a mess. Okay, because it keeps gaining momentum. The subconscious keeps gaining momentum in its reality, so that's what fear is. So fear can, sometimes people through fear have died on the spot. The heart stopped and died. One time they made an experiment in Britain, and they said to a man who was sentenced that he did something horrendous, and they said to him, we will release you, even though we know you're guilty, if we do an experiment, if you're willing to sleep in that bed. And they said, well, what's wrong with that bed? Well, that bed was led by a man who had such contagious disease that if you contract that disease, you'll die right away. He says, it's so bad, it's filled with germs of that disease. They said, but if you're willing to sleep in that bed, we'll release you the next day. The next day he was dead. The fear was so strong, you see. That's a fact, that's just, they did this about 20 years ago, something, I read it. And anyway, so this is the power of what you believe. You become what you believe. Okay, so now the transformation of fear into love. Now, when you begin to understand that you are love, you've already taken a giant step. When you begin to see that the seeking of love through approval, through security, which is safety, and control, when you find that you are seeking it through those, then already you're a step ahead, because now, because only those three, and this is very, very, very interesting and to know, because even in psychology I never learned that. It is something that I've realized and learned through hypnotherapy. There's only three things that we seek all the time, which are love. Okay? So when you begin to understand that, then you know that all you have to do when fear strikes you is to be aware of the body's reaction to that fear. Fear has not happened yet. Fear is already in the future. It's going to happen. Oh, I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder what's going to take place. But in the moment, when you're feeling that, your body is going through. So what you do is you take a deep breath, and you stay with the sensations in the body. Okay, this is imperative. This is absolutely necessary. So there has to be the willingness to do that. Okay? Now, next, what you do when you sit with the emotions is to start working at Qi. Qi is the energy in the body which is called also love. Okay, so now let's do this. Okay, take out your hand, your right hand. Okay, and now what I'd like you to do, as you look at your hand, really look at it, begin to feel, and don't deviate from that concentration, begin to feel that your hand is now alive. Begin to feel it's pulsating. Begin to feel as if the tips of your fingers are throbbing with the circulation of the blood. Feel how the hand now is not only alive with energy, but it's actually becoming warm. Imbue it with that energy. Okay, we'll keep it for a few more seconds. Are you beginning to feel it? Feel the movement? Okay. Now, did you feel the energy in the hand?
Yeah.
Did you feel the energy in the hand, Zan? Did you feel it?
Some, yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. So now, what is that? What is that called? Qi. Now, if you can start generating that, okay, and you put it in part of your body, like a few days ago, I had an itchy ear, and it was really itching, and I thought I'm building too much wax or something, so I went with my finger and I started to take the stuff out, and pardon the expression, but anyway, it happened so. What happened is that I done some harm and I got an infection, and my jaw began to hurt. I couldn't eat, and I had a sore throat because it's all affected by the infection in the ear, see? So then what I did was I began to energize my hand and put it there. And I believe with all my heart that is healing it. And within 40 hours or so I was back to normal. So, and this has happened in many other areas. So remember that what you're doing is bringing the life energy that you are with the hand. It's not just with the hand, because when you bring it to the hand, your whole body becomes filled with it. Okay, let's bring the Qi to the face. I'm laughing because I'm going to try to mimic it. Okay, how do you bring Qi to the face? Okay, I'm going to be normal. Now, watch my expression. Now I'm going to bring Qi to my face. Did you notice anything different? Okay, now, what did I think in order to bring that energy to my eyes and to my face? Yeah, you bring the heart, you bring love. And the best words that you can say is, I love you, I love you. And when you're saying that, you're saying it to everybody that's present, but you're also saying to you, I love you. Because love does not have to be in a personal way. Only it's love is. So the moment you say, I am love, I love you, immediately your face lights up with that energy. Now you're imbued with that. Now what if, I hope that you're really listening here, okay, what if for a moment you have the presence of mind during a fear, okay, and you begin to see the quivering. It takes courage, yes, it takes determination to follow truth, yes. Okay? There's the willingness to be able to want to do it. And you sit, take a deep breath, and you do the following Qi movement. Okay? So what you do is you place the hands together like this. Okay, yeah. And feel as if there's a ball of energy between the fingers. Okay. Now as you move the hands back and forth, not touching, you begin to feel an energy, elastic energy between. And then you take a deep breath. The breath from the stomach, like blowing a balloon, like we discussed last satsang. And then exhale, taking out the fear. Now is transforming. As you exhale, you're transforming the fear into love. And then you touch again. And now the hands feel even greater chi, greater energy. Okay? And then once more. Wow, now I can feel my hands throbbing. They're absolutely throbbing with energy. Okay? And then you just relax. Now your fear has transformed into love. It's that simple. Now if you have the willingness to do it during some shock in your life, I admit that it takes quite a while to have the presence of mind to do it, but if you start doing it, transformation starts happening. Because the fear that you had, which was a need for love, now is experiencing its own need itself. So the very fear now has transformed itself into love. And remember that love is a million times more powerful than fear. Because love is universal. Love is wholeness. So what it does, it eats up the fear. And before you know it, you begin to feel good. You see, and the more often you do it, the greater the healing. Okay.
You don't need to know where the fear came from.
No, you don't need to, because you see, if you start, this is what's been happening. Thank you, you're asking beautiful questions. Yeah, you see, many people says, but Burt, I'm feeling that fear and I don't know where the heck it's coming from. Don't worry about it. It's coming from the subconscious, you don't need to figure it out. It's buried there. You're simply expressing it. All you need to know now is that there is fear. Somehow or other you created it, unconsciously of course. You know, you didn't create it on purpose, but you have created it by suppressing something in you. And it has taken deeper and deeper and greater strength that it has taken over your body. There are some people, quite a few people, who believe I'm not good enough, there's something wrong with me, I don't deserve the best, etc., etc. And that's what we do to ourselves. You know, do you know that the fact that you exist and existence makes no mistake? There is no mistake in existence. And you are existence itself. In other words, nothing can ever go wrong with you. But you still have the choice between love and fear. And what you have made of your life now has nothing to do with the source, with God, with love. It has to do with you, your belief system. And so what needs to be eradicated is to transform that into love. Love knows no wrong. Love knows no error. Love makes no mistake. You see? Just like the earth rotates around the sun, my God, in perfect precision to create the semblance of time. You know, hours, days, weeks, months, years, seasons, everything through its rotation. And we think actually that rotation is creating the season and everything, but nothing is actually happening. It's just a movement. You see, it's the same. We think on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but all it is now, all the time, going through different states of consciousness. You know, we wake up in the morning, we have a different state of consciousness. In the afternoon, different state. Evening, different state. When we sleep, it's still another different state of consciousness. But as we go through each state, I am. You see, I am. And that is the love in you. You see? So when you start using that I am with every fear that you have, every time you meet a fear, without running away from it, don't try to get rid of it, don't try to change it. But as you meet it, you become a powerful being. You become powerful. You see?
So is it the fear that wants freedom, or is it what's beneath it that wants expression?
The reason we want freedom is because our nature is free.
But that fear to come up is our yearning for freedom, really.
That's right. Yes,
yeah.
it is. It is. Yeah. It is. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Even the slaves, for example, you take A black man might have been raised years ago in slavery. He never knew what freedom was. But in his heart, he still dreams of being free. Because that is the nature of being. That is the nature of love. That is the, you see, that freedom. That is our true being. Yeah. So, are there any questions? Okay, namaste.